Hi folks, Cryx here again. This is the first video in the prep and assembly and painting of my new Cryx Army. In this video I'm going to be showing you sort of the initial work I did to get the models ready, and then the first coats of paint that will go down on them with a airbrush. I'm using here just my scalpel and a great little set of files from Flurry Models. These are kind of sponge files with sort of sandpaper on either side of them. And here you can see I'm working on one of the small bone jacks, just taking away any of those really annoying mould lines. The mould lines aren't really bad, or I've never found them to be too bad on the Warmachine and Privateer press models in general. Some of them can be quite awkward, like here where I'm working around this sort of smokestack coming out the bone jack's back. They were a wee bit awkward to get into, but a bit of perseverance with a file and you're all good. I probably spent about 4 hours in prep for these 4 models, which just seems like quite a lot, but it is worth it in the end, because there's nothing worse than seeing a great painted model and then you realise you've left a mould line sitting. Really annoying. So yeah, sorry if this is a little bit boring at the moment, but I'm just working away taking these mould lines out. Okay, so clean up done, and I'm on to looking at the magnetisation. Now, I already had a Helljack kit which gave you the Corruptor Reaper parts for the Helljack, so I intend to magnetise the Helljack itself so that I can switch weapons in and out, and that will allow me to field both a Corruptor and a Reaper, or 2 Slayers depending what I want to do. So here I'm just setting up the polarisation of the magnets. That's quite important, and I should have checked before I went ahead and did this, because I actually got this wrong the first time around and ended up having to dig magnets out, which is on some of the smaller pieces, like in the arm you can see here. That's not a good thing to be doing, and it's just wasted time. So always check your polarisations right. Here I'm just setting the model aside, letting it dry for a little while. I just use standard super glue. Well, it's a gel based glue, which I find a bit easier to work with. And now I'm on to just pinning the feet in all the models, so that when I come to base them, they've got a bit of a better anchor into the base that I'm going to use. So very small drill bit, just be really careful. I don't use an electric drill. I would like one, because sometimes you end up with a pretty sore hand from doing too much of it. There's a stage here that I didn't record, and that actually is washing these miniatures down. Once I'd finished all the prep work with them, I washed them. And then I had a bit of a disaster, because I dropped the Helljack and I ended up having to pin the legs together. You can see here I'm just pressing it in, but that's the finished Helljack, all set and ready to go. So we're now pretty much ready to prime and paint these models. So I've primed the models with Army Painter's Uniform Grey spray paint. Really like this spray paint. I've been using it for a while now, and I have 3 colours that I'm going to use initially. So Charred Brown, Scarfulius Brown from Game Colour, both from Game Colour, and Model Colours Black. These are all Vallejo paints, and these are going to be sprayed on the model quite patchily to start with. So I've got my airbrush here, thinned down the Game Colour paints very slightly, and I'm just going to put patches of colour here across the undercoat. You can see here I'm not being tidy, I'm not trying to stay within any lines, I'm just firing it down at the moment. And there's a reason for this. I'm going to use a particular product in a minute that will go over this initial coat of paint, and you'll see why in a couple of minutes when I come to it. So just going round the model here, and just adding in patches. I'm actually letting the paint go on quite thick in places here, just to give a wee bit of variation when it comes to actually the next coats, the next stages of paint. So yeah, doing that in all the jacks at once, working on all 4 of them at once. And now I'm just using Scurfuleus Brown, and I'll just be adding again patches of colour onto the model. Again with the airbrush, again not being particularly sort of careful with where I'm putting it in. You can see here there's still some of the charred brown mix in here. I didn't really clean my brush through too much, just ran a bit of cleaner through it, so there was just some in the tip there. So just going around the panels, dotting it in. Paint's quite thin coming out the airbrush here, and I just work around all the models, all 4 in a row, and just get that production line going. Over the model, all of the models, this is the hell jack you can see I'm working on here. Just adding patches here and there where I think they'll be appropriate. And you'll see all my models are sort of held on old paint pots with blue tack. Here for the arms for the Slayer jack, I've got a little bit of plastic rod which I put a couple of magnets on either end, and that they just link in to the magnets that are actually on the arms already, and it just makes them easier to hold, easier to deal with. So yeah, that stage pretty much done. Okay, so now for the fun bit. I'm using a product called Heavy Chipping Fluid here from AK Interactive. This is a kind of acrylic mask type material. I'm not exactly sure how it works, but what you do is you essentially spray this across the whole of the miniature, being careful not to let it pool too much. It'll take a while to dry if you let it pool, and you don't really want that. My understanding is that you spray this on, let it dry, and then get your base colour, or the colour you want to put on top of it, on, and let that dry. And you want that process to be reasonably quick. It doesn't have to be, you know, lightning fast, but you want it to be reasonably quick, because after that you're going to use some water and a stiff bristle brush to take some of that actual paint off and give you the chipping effect. I love this product, I think it's fantastic. So I've put all the heavy chipping fluid on the models now. Remember, I'm doing all 4 here. We are painting an army, we're not doing individual models, so I'm just checking them over now. You notice I'm wearing a glove for the hand that holds the model. I'm not sure what the heavy chipping fluid's like, but I would probably recommend a glove and a mask if you've got one. You don't want to mess about with your health. So now it's time to put the base coat on. Here I'm using Model Colour Ivory, and I'm giving it a nice light coat here, not wanting to put too much paint on here. Just slowly going round the model, building it up. You'll see this is quite stark, very white at the moment. That will change as we go on with the models. They will be grimed up, washed, have oils put on them, and that will bring it all back down. In fact, after the next stage, you'll see quite dramatically just how much it changes the look of the miniature. So just going around, make sure you get all the model, all the panels in nicely. So now for the fun part, folks. What I've done here is I've taken an old dry brush. This was an old Citadel dry brush. I've dampened it down with a little bit of water, and you can see here that I'm just actually going onto the paint and just scraping through it. Now what you'll start to see in a moment is that it takes away the top layer of paint. Actually, the water activates the heavy chipping fluid and just starts to I suppose it's kind of melting the paint, or I'm not exactly sure how it works, but it basically pulls some of the paint away. Now you could go completely mental with this. I chose not to, although it does look like I'm doing quite a bit here, I have to admit. But yeah, you just gently scrape on it until you get the effect you want. It gives you some, you'll see already, it gives some great effects, chipping effects. And I chose to use the small dry brush. I did on my test model try out a toothbrush, but the chipping effect it was giving was far too large for the scale of the model I'm doing. I'd imagine if you were working on a tank, it would fit in pretty well, but I'm finding that the best thing that I can use is definitely this old dry brush. It's got quite stiff bristles, which I think you'll need for this technique. And that's really it, folks. You keep going round the model until you're happy with the look. You can see here I'm just sort of tidying up now, just making sure I've got enough of the paint chips and the scratches where I want. Also did use a little toothpick and just scraped over it at certain points. I don't have any footage of that, but you can use any sort of hard-edged object. And I think that's where I'm going to leave this first video. All 4 of the jacks from the Cryx Battle Box are at this stage now, and in the next video we'll look at starting to sort of probably grime up and mess up the look of the armour even further. But I hope you enjoyed this. If you would like to like the video, comment please, let me know what's working well with them, and I would be really happy if you subscribed as well. So I'll leave you for just now, folks. Have fun, take care, speak to you later.